right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. When we have an author on and he or she has written a memoir, I'm always impressed by the courage that it took to be so honest, because there's usually something about their story that a lot of people probably would keep to themselves and they wouldn't want it put out in a book. But the thing I think that it does for the rest of us is it helps us understand that we are not all the same, and we never will be, and those differences just make us better as people. But if we have prejudged thoughts about who other people are and what they're going through, then we'll probably get it wrong. And that's why I think when you have a memoir like the one that Ryan Sallans has written called Transforming Manhood, that you learn a little bit about other people. Everybody's not the same, and everybody doesn't have the same life experience. And sometimes to tell that story makes us all a little better, but at the same time puts yourself in the spotlight and takes a lot of courage. So with that said, let me introduce you to Ryan. He's on the phone. His book, I think this is his second book, right, Robin? The first one was called Second Son or something. Mm-hmm. Transforming Manhood, a trans man's quest to build bridges and knock down walls. Boy, that says it all right there, doesn't it? Ryan is an inspirational speaker, a transgender featured in the documentary Gender Rebel. He's a researcher focusing on creating inclusive environments for LGBTQ individuals, and he's on the phone. Good morning, Ryan. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're welcome. Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm currently sitting in a room in the philosophy department at Texas State University.
Okay. Oh my gosh! It sounds like you're in prison or something. Right? So tell me about, like, hopefully you could hear my intro. I just feel like the amount of courage to be able to tell your story is overwhelming. Some memoirs are not as overwhelming as yours. Yours really took a lot of courage. Or am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. So as you mentioned, this is my second book. My first memoir is Second Son, which really talks about my life from when I was born up to 4 years into my transition from female to male. Transforming Manhood looks at my life after my transition, and what I experienced was just people's judgment or assumptions based on physical appearance and also what they think about gender. And this book, I always joke in my house we have wood floors, and you can walk throughout the whole house on the first floor. I joke that I've worn out all the polyurethane on top of them just from pacing in between paragraphs for this book because it was such a challenge.
Really?
Write.
Oh, that's a great visual way of explaining it, and I think you're right. I think you probably were pacing. So, did the first book accomplish something different than the second book will?
Yeah, I think the first book is really great for people that just don't really understand what transgender means, and they want to look into someone's life from like childhood into their adulthood, and that experience of just coming out and understanding your gender identity and then moving forward, and just the complications with relationships when you do come out, and trying to find love and acceptance in your family and in your community. And then the second book really dives into really society as a whole and how to navigate that after a transition.
But this book that you've written right now, it's very emotional at times. You talk about your grandmother dying, but you also said that she summed up life when you told her you loved her.
Yes, she. The last words I heard my grandma say in the hospital was, "This is the pits." And that's both very sad to hear when, someone's at the end of their life, but also something that kind of just sums up, life does eventually end for all of us.
Well, life is not ended for you yet. You're living your life. Does the transgender part of your identity is not necessary to bring up? Like, nobody cares that I'm a man. Nobody ever says anything. I just do my stuff. I think doing radio is part of my identity, or just being a dad is my identity. But being a man doesn't seem to come up. Is it unfairly, because it seems like it would be a distraction for you if you constantly have to explain any of that, right?
sometimes it feels feels like that, but most of the time, I mean, I've based my career on sharing my story and being out all the time, and I think there's power in that because you can break down people's assumptions in that moment when they see you, and they can then take a moment to step back and recognize that there's so much within us that's contained in the skin that goes so deep that assumptions shouldn't be driving our relationships. In fact, that really hinders our relationships and our ability to grow, to understand the people in front of us, and to also understand more about ourselves.
Mm-hmm. We're all on somewhat of a marathon, all of us, but the one thing we don't have that the marathon runners have is a finish line, other than death. But at the same time, we always think, well, once I retire, that's the finish line, or once I get a better job. Or do you have those moments in your life where you reached a plateau or a pinnacle and you felt like, now it's smooth sailing, and then realized, nope, it never is. I think I heard John Mellencamp say that. You always think you're going to get to that part where you have smooth sailing, and then you never get there.
Yeah, that's so funny you say that, because I do have that, like, oh, if I do this, then everything's going to be okay. I won't be stressed anymore. I'll just be able to live my life. But you do discover that doesn't ever really happen. But in a way, maybe that's a good thing. I have lots of family members that are retired, and while there's a bunch of benefits to retirement, obviously, they're like, it's just life is different, and you can get really bored. So I do believe I will never be bored in life.
You talk about finding true happiness in your book. You give us a journey with your brother and with Lily.
Yes. Coming out as trans was very difficult for my family. I have a sister, a brother, and a mom and dad. And my brother was someone that was always there to support me. In fact, he's one of the reasons I'm still here today, just to have that support from a family member during a very difficult time. And then my wife, Lily, has always been someone that has just given me strength, but she's also challenged me a lot, which I think this book is actually better than my first book because of what I've learned over the past 10 years of being with her, and how she has pushed me to think deeper.
And I do love the selfies in your book, because you really can see the different levels of happiness and the different experiences you have. It shows in your face.
Thank you. It's selfies, I think, for any of us can be pretty powerful, just because we all age, and it's something to reflect back on. But for the trans community, they're really powerful because you are literally documenting your physical changes from, in my case, a female body to a male body, and then just and you can just sit in awe, just recognize the power of really hormones and what hormones can do to our bodies. It's pretty fascinating.
I know. Sometimes I wonder if I'm not just at the mercy of mine. I am. I'm at the mercy of them. Hey, what do you do for relaxation? What do you do? Do you go camping? I thought I saw something here about RV or something. What do you do for relaxing?
For me, I go backpacking. And in the book, I talk in one of the chapters about how I fell in love with backpacking and then rediscovered it. And it is truly my most favorite thing to do in the world, because you have no cell service. Nobody can get a hold of you. You're out in the mountains, among the peaks and the wildlife, and you're just part of nature. Everything slows down, and you just can really just appreciate, each moment that's in front of you. So it's really it fills my soul every time I get to do it.
I love that. We are all different things. We're old, we're young, we're male, we're female, we're white, we're black, we're Yankee, we're rebel, or whatever.
Christian, we're Jewish.
Christian, Jewish, everything. Yeah. But when you buy yourself like that, all you are is you. Like I'm none of those labels when if I'm out. For Robin and I, we like to bicycle, so it's kind of as close to hiking as I'm ever going to get. But you do feel like you. I said to Robin one time, we were on the side of a hill after we were biking too far and forgot to bring water.
That was hard.
I said to her, this is it. This is the life. Wouldn't be any better if I had $1 gazillion. If I had $1 million, this would feel exactly the same. This moment right here. And I think that's maybe where we all want to be. It sounds like, because sex isn't everything and gender isn't everything. I'm not a man or anything when I'm by myself. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a man sometimes, I guess. Well, the book is called Transforming Manhood. Ryan K. Sallans is the author. Again, just to restate what I said earlier, I congratulate you on your courage to be able to write this book and the first book. Getting good reviews on Amazon, I noticed, and I found it on Amazon for the listeners if you want to check it out. But I have one copy, so if I have a listener who would like this one, call me and I'll leave it for you. Ryan, do you have a website you'd like to share with us?
Yes, if people would like to learn more about myself and my journey and my story and what I do for a living, they can visit my website, ryansallans.com. I like to make things easy.
Well, congratulations. You're a joy to talk to. Thank you for taking time to do this. And if you're ever in Central Florida, we'd love to have you in the studio.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you,
I would
Ryan.
love to join you both.
Awesome. We'll be right back.
Thinking about things that